So I'm going to start again then, boys. Sorry. Um, so I always believe I, the market's always doing at least one of three things, which is these three here: creating liquidity, taking liquidity, and rebalancing the market. So from the perspective of my 4, 15, and 1 strategy, it's all based around this, and then there's like a fourth one which is structure. Um, I'm I'm not going to pull that in this one because it it's not what something the market is doing. It's sort of showing you. It's more of a confluence than a confirmation, and like an added side confirmation, I guess. So the first sort of confirmation I'm looking for from me 4:15:1 is obviously I'm wanting liquidity to be built up. So creating liquidity. So liquidity is basically trend lines, equal highs, if they're equal here. So equal highs, equal highs, trend line. So if it's at an angle, if it's at an angle, it must be a minimum of 3 touches. So 1, 2, 3. And the idea with liquidity is that there will be people's stop losses. Obviously, for the upside, it'll be above. Um, whether it's stop losses or orders is questionable. So the banks might not actually care about your money, but they might want your orders because obviously they need sell orders if they're trying to move the market down. So they'll this sweep here will effectively open everybody's sell orders up for grabs, or they're after your money, one of the two. I don't know. It depends. It's the same thing really, but yeah, it's yeah they're trying to take people's orders or money. So you've got people's stop losses above this trend line here, and then you get a liquidity sweep here. So it nips up, takes everybody's stop losses supposedly. I'll just mark that. So liquidity sweep, that's number 2, taking liquidity. I'll just put numbers on them. So this trend line is, oh no, wrong one. No, don't change. That's what I wanted. Delete. So trend line here, number 1. Then liquidity sweep number 2. And in here it will mitigate an imbalance. You'll just have to trust me on that. I'm not gonna dive into like the 15-second and prove it to you, but my zone is initially marked from probably a 2-hour imbalance. There'll be a 2-hour imbalance or something, I'm sure. So look, it probably fills this imbalance here, so you get a couple of okay push downs, and I'm sure that is about where it actually taps into. On that because I think that's pretty close to. Not quite, but it'll fill like a minute or a 1 minute imbalance or something like that anyway. So yeah, this is at the minute, obviously, first confirmation, liquidity is created. Second confirmation. This is all on the 4-hour, by the way, guys, as I'm marking this up as a trade as a whole. So liquidity created, liquidity taken, imbalance filled across here from the point of interest that I had marked originally. So we've got this here, obviously the trend line there, sweep. So it happens here for the first point of interest on the 4-hour, and then it'll do the same again on the 15 here. So the first sort of like 6. No, sorry, let me work this out. So 1, 2, 3. So the breaker structure is my third confirmation here on the 4-hour. So build up liquidity, sweep, breaker structure. break of structure here. So 1, 2, 3. I'll draw them on again. Oh, drawing. 1. First confirmation, building up liquidity. Second confirmation is liquidity sweep. There you go. And then third one is the break of structure. Third confirmation. Then fourth confirmation, I'll change this one because that one's now out of alignment. Obviously, after the sweep and the break of structure, I'm wanting an imbalance fill here. So obviously, I'd then say, obviously, the imbalance fill I would have marked originally will be the bottom of this box. So I'd have been happy if it comes, as long as it comes into this red box. I said orange, I meant red. As long as it comes in and then fills an imbalance, say on the 15 or 1, I'd be super happy, which it does, and then it starts breaking to the downside, but it comes back later on and takes this high and stays in this box. So I then reset from 15-minute on the next zone. So imbalance fill in here would be confirmation number 4. I will write all these down in order soon, but I wanted to sort of go through it on a chart so it can sort of make sense visually. So let's assume that that yellow line is confirmation number 4 once it's tapped into 4. I'll put that there, so it's sort of that way. So yeah, confirmation 4 is imbalance created because obviously I want this to be filled. And then from the 4-hour break of structure, so I'm obviously starting the process again, but on the 15-minute. So we've got trend build up liquidity again. So this would be confirmation 5. 5. That one would be 6. And then again, I'll be looking for, obviously this one says change of character, but it's break of structure. Break of structure, so that one would be 7. Obviously, if this is not making sense, guys, please stop me and ask questions. And then obviously the creation of the imbalance to be filled would be number 8. There'll be an imbalance in here, which obviously is the bottom of the box. And then obviously this hasn't played out further than that point. So, but what from after this break of structure here, I wanted it to come back on the 1 minute. 15, yeah. Sorry, come back on the 1 minute. So terrible example, really. So from after it broke here, I wanted it to come back and on the 1 minute do something like this. Tap into it, fill the imbalance on this touch here, break below on the 1 minute. So break a structure here, and then mitigate the final imbalance it left. So do that on in green because green is my 1 minute time frame stuff. So obviously here would have been an imbalance fill in this orange box. So I'll just write number 9. No, 8, that's 8, sorry, 8. So I'd have wanted a 1 minute build up of liquidity, let's say an equal high in here with that. I don't even see that. It's about equal high with his wick here. So build up a liquidity there. I'll make me own up. let's say there was equal highs there. So that would be confirmation 9. Computer running slow tonight, which would then mean that this one would be a liquidity sweep. Very repetitive, this guy's. I know. I fully appreciate it's probably dead boring. But it is what it is. It's almost mechanical with a little bit of uh spending a bit of time looking for the imbalances on like the lower time frames and things like that. But this is why I always really liked my 415 and 1 because, like I say, I'm at confirmation 10 with this liquidity sweep here. So you could almost have a list of as the 4 hour created liquidity, take liquidity, left imbalance, broken structure. Yes, tick all them boxes. You then move on to the same again on the 15 once it returns to your 4 hour point of interest, which is my red box. And then you just, like I say, you just repeat that process on the 15 minute and then the 1 minute. And then on from obviously the mitigation of the imbalance on the last one on your 1 minute, so it break a structure, obviously there's an imbalance left. You want that to be the final mitigation and of the fill in the imbalance. And rather than at that point, the mitigation becomes your entry point because you've then had multiple time frames breaking structure in the same direction. So you've got theoretically you've got the 4 hour, the 15 minute, and the 1 minute all breaking structures to the downside. So you've got multiple time frames saying that they want to go in the same direction, which means you then I didn't want that one there, which then means you've got as long as the trade plays out and works out to how you thought it would, you've then possibly caught the beginning of a move, or even if you're halfway through a range, you can still catch a decent move, just because you've got multiple time frames running in the same direction. So it just means that the trades, if it plays out, it's more power. I believe it to be more powerful. So I'll just draw the rest of this on for you. So from that point there, that would be 1 minute breaker structure. It would then leave, say, this is really slow. This would be your imbalance that you'd want it to leave. So obviously this would be in candle form. Obviously I'm drawing lines on it, but you'd then want to see an order block at the top here, big push down, leaving an imbalance, and then obviously break structure on the 1 minute, and then this final mitigation would becomes your entry. So your entry would be directly above that box there, cover the high or whatever, plus spreads and things like that. And then obviously you would set your pending at something like at what the green box is on this. Obviously, I know it didn't come down this way, and then you would roughly target. Obviously, because you've had multiple breaks, in theory, you'd be looking to take the next low, create a new lower low on this one. Obviously, it's doing it here. Do I need to number more of these up? 9 is the creation of liquidity. 10 would be the breaker structure. So yeah, roughly 10, 11 confirmations on that. But again, most of it all falls back to what it's doing here as well. So again, creating liquidity, taking liquidity, rebalances the market as well. So obviously, I made this sort of strat. I don't know if I fully invented it. It's probably out there somewhere, but no one taught me this. So I effectively built this off my own knowledge that I grew from obviously TFT, the basics and things like that. And pieced it all together myself and figured it all out. So my theory behind it is all the way from way back here. Slow. So there's liquidity sweep here. Obviously, this structure wise, hopefully this is a new higher, lower high. Hopefully you'd want it to have filled pretty much all the imbalance to the left. I know there's a huge piece here, but structure wise, it's making lower highs, lower lows, so it's trending downwards. So structure wise, you've got something like this going on. So you would hope a new lower low, unless this is the current move I'm looking for, which I would hope it is. I mean, I really hope I'm going to catch a buy from. Catch a buy from down in here, and then it might win test. Basically, play out this green line would be ideal. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed, but it might just come and take the low, to be honest. But it's given a couple of little entries, but the systems that I've just gone through here is exactly the same to the downside. So the buy is possibly better. So obviously, I don't know if you can see that in there. I'll just whiz through it again. So you've got a build up of liquidity, taken of liquidity, breaks of structure, obviously breaks up here, takes this high here. So there's three confirmations straight away. Obviously builds more liquidity beforehand before it comes back. So building more liquidity takes liquidity, fills an imbalance. And then obviously on the lower time frame, obviously I'd be looking for the 1 minute. Obviously it builds liquidity, trend line here, takes it, and now I'm just waiting to possibly fill an imbalance real low in here. I thought it had taken it all, but I've marked this one up as well. So this might be an entry for. I mean, depending on how the market opens, obviously, but there's possibly an imbalance in there. I'm not going to show you it because I need to look at it properly myself. So, yeah, they're my confirmations. I don't use any indicators, so for me, there's not really more. I don't really believe that to be any more confirmations that I need. I'm like purely price action based. Uh, Obviously, I've spent years looking at the finer details of the market. So other than maybe adding structure to this, can't spell structures. Other than maybe adding that, you don't really. I don't believe you need more than that. I'm doing very well enough just off these four confirmations that get rinsed and repeated. Um, yeah, as obviously you can see, like half of these lines are just arrows to point to a liquidity sweep to show you guys. I'm pretty much working off of this, just equal highs. If I can make equal highs and lows and draw imbalances, well, I draw imbalance lines. So, which is obviously rebalancing the market once price fills them. So, is there any questions on that, guys, before I sort of like start to move on to like as a basic supply and demand strategy? I start talking about that a bit. It's the same confirmations, just not as full a process as my main system. So I'll give you a minute to, if anyone's got any questions, I'm going to have a quick swig on my cup of tea. Question. So obviously what I've just gone over is my 415 one. The basic sort of like supply and demand that I teach these days now anyway, and how I am currently trading at the minute is the confirmations are exactly the same. There's no voodoo, there's no added confirmations, there's no less confirmations. There's just the confirmations are the same four principles that obviously I marked favor up, which I'll go back up to again in case people want to write them down. But the principle is exactly the same. There's obviously a build up liquidity, so creating liquidity, liquidity created, liquidity taken, so this would be a sweep, and then you've got a little just about a breaker structure here, and then obviously it fills an imbalance here on this sweep here, which is mega important because there's nothing. Obviously, I didn't see anything below here that I've liked. This is maybe of interest, but for how the market was moving, I was happy with this being filled on at the current time it was. So create liquidity, take liquidity, break structure, which is like, oh, change of character here, there as well. Just draw a line across here so you can see. Blue. You see this just wicks above it, and then it mitigates an imbalance down here. So create liquidity, take liquidity, structure, rebalance the market. So this little order block in here is what caused breaks of structure, change of character, whatever you want to be called. And obviously from a wrong one, from a structure perspective, not this one specifically is not the best, but we had obviously a low breaker structure on here, this one here, create a new higher low, higher high. So we had structure starting to make a content like a trend of this way. So like I say, once it filled this imbalance I had down here, and then it broke structure and it started coming back, it was good enough for me to then want to get in and risk my capital. I took a just over a 1 to 7 on this because I was always where there's some imbalances in here, and obviously this was just before spread hour. We got close to spread hour, and as you can see, pretty much 11 o'clock on the dot, it fills this lowest one that I've got marked. So the dot fills it bang on to the pipette, and then decides to run the low, and then this actually. So the entry I took was here off this green line. Me first entry. I think I was in this for like 2.5, 3 days, and it was a bigger stop loss than I would normally use, but it just is what it is. This took me out around about here. I moved this into 1+ profit, so took eight R off this on from Wednesday to Wednesday and Thursday. This was a second entry. This one was my 415 one. This one's me supply and demand as a basics. And then obviously it's come and taken the low. Take it. So I believe it's aiming for, or I hope it's aiming for this imbalance here possibly, which might mean these equal lows here by the looks of it I've got marked. So this might be inducement. Take this, so take liquidity, rebalance the market. It might then start pushing up, but I'd have to check on the dollar to see if it's gonna start showing weakness. So because obviously NZD is the first asset on this one, so if this goes up, that would mean the US dollar needs to weaken. So Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So just double checking what I say. I don't want to be telling you the wrong stuff. And I do believe the dollar is possibly showing a bit of weakness. I'll get that into a second now. Tom asked if that's another entry on the 1 minute chart. Sorry, mate. What do you
No, it's
mean?
okay, mate. I didn't know that was your 15, 4 and 1. That was all. And then you said it after, I
Yeah,
didn't realise.
yeah. So this lower one, mate, was the 415 one. Obviously,
Yeah,
obviously, you
no.
can see I've got an imbalance. I've got an imbalance fill on the 15-minute zone here. Fills it and then breaks above this. This will be my 1 minute. This green line here will be my 1 minute breaker structure, and then it takes a few days to come back. I think
Yeah, that's all good, mate.
breaks.
I realised that when you said it.
Yeah, exactly a week, pretty much, to come back. Um, I think this happened at 3 in the morning as well. Yeah, yeah. It took a week to come back. I was pretty annoyed because I could have got that entry a bit tighter in the end. Um, I think this zone here is marked on the 15 second, 10 and 5. I think those are all pretty much the same size entry zone. I think it's a Newswick as well. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a Newswick. So 1 o'clock, that'll be New Zealand CPI, no doubt. Um, yeah, so I took it off the 5 second, but I included this candle for some reason. I don't know why. Um, but this is where I should have been checking. The 1 second to, if anyone's new on this, guys, I don't advise looking at the 1 second chart. But I don't advise looking at any of the seconds. To be fair, it just works for me. So obviously, I'm at the afterwards. I'm at the top of this candle here. So if obviously there's a bit of a feed inefficiency there. So, but if we draw this a bit neater, so we've got a bit of slow pace here. Comes up, comes down just about, and then bang within. I'll change that color so you can see a bit better. So from this slow, steady price action heading downwards here slightly, and all of a sudden, bang, 1, 2, 3 seconds, maybe even 4, we get. No. So within 4 seconds, we get, is that 13 pips? So yeah, we get. I mean that's huge. I don't care what time frame you're on. That's a big. Yeah, obviously it's news. So yeah, within a few seconds anyway, you get a big move, and then I'll just hate this laptop. So obviously it tapped me in here 3 in the morning, but like I say, this imbalance lower down on the 1 second that I just identified. So it taps it pretty much perfectly. So if I'd have spent the time to look at that seconds chart, my entry would have been bang on the yellow line. Would have been a 2 pip zone plus spreads. Let's be on my brokerage. It's 2 pipettes spread. So let's say three. That I probably would have done 2.5, but let's be try and be a bit realistic for you guys. It goes all the way up to that line there. 1 to 20-ish, nearly at its peak. Like I say, I'd have probably been 2.5 or not. Don't really change it much, to be honest. 22-ish, but obviously that's maximum possibility. Even if you decided you wanted to take it a bit shorter, just to this sort of imbalance fill here. Obviously, I'm sure it would have hesitated around somewhere around here. Yeah, there you go, pull that there. So even if you took it there, it'd still be nice. My God. Still, yeah, 1 to 20-ish even there still. So that's the possibilities, guys. Obviously, you have to use them for sort of confirmations or things I use to build the confirmations, which are these. What's that? Right. Yeah, these are the sort of the only four things I'm using anyway, guys. Obviously, you have to put all these in an order to make it work as a strategy. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not simple. Simple, obviously, it takes time. But like I say, you've got build up liquidity, take liquidity, break structure, mitigation becomes your entry. It can be simple once. I mean, it is simple once you spend the time to back test, put it all together, understand like what true imbalance is. I say true imbalance to me, that just means that seeing it on, say, like the 15-second is most likely to be what is true imbalance. Obviously, seeing it on the 4 hour, the price can move a lot in 4 hour and effectively be balanced, in my opinion. I don't really, I don't really believe in 4 hour imbalance. It's just a possible indication that there is something inside there, maybe that of an actual imbalance. So yeah, I don't really believe in 4 hour, 15 minutes or whatever imbalance. It's just an indication of price moved relatively fast for that time frame. But then once you get down to like the 15 seconds, then if you start seeing imbalance on them, then that's imbalance. Um, Structure. I said this at the when we did the group sessions at the education weekend. Structure's very difficult to fully understand. It's still something I'm trying to think about and write down so I can help you guys sort of try and understand it as well as I do. So I don't even know if structure's ever been covered in the previous education. I'll have to have a look because I don't know. I don't know if it's covered, but obviously I've got a couple of like not easy rules, a couple of rules that I use around structure um to say whether it's a structure or not. It's not foolproof. It's I basically use if I'm just going to delete these because you're doing my head. So based on a 5 minute structure, obviously back here this is trending upwards slightly. Yeah, it's sort of moving upwards. So we've got we'll say this is a low here. Got a low there. So we've got the high right here. So until this low here and this high here, this is the live range on an uptrend. Until this, obviously, if it breaks this, then we've got a possible, obviously, breaker structure to the downside, which it does. So across there, which it does here. These sort of candles here break it, but obviously then it puts in below and starts making new highs. So once this is broken and it sets a low and starts making its way back up, this is the new working range. So this high, this low. So then we mark the highest point before this low then gets broken. So this low here gets broken here. This is the highest point between them two. So that's the new structure high. Then obviously it breaks it, comes a bit lower over here. This is probably like a 15-minute structure. I know I'm doing it on the 5, but change 15. Yeah, so I've got these structures because obviously we've got low, high, low, high. So yeah, this is the low here that draw a line. So as soon as that low there gets broken, then when it starts to pull back, the highest point between that point gets broken, confirms pull back. As soon as this level gets broken here, that confirms this high has been the new high. And then obviously, because if this entry here would have smashed through these imbalances and taken this high, I'd have been very comfortable leaving everything running because we would then have had a new higher. That'd have done that. We'd have had breaker structure to the upside, which is what I'm looking for. Once I'm obviously, if I get a trade from down here, this one here, I would then want it to break this because then that's a breaker structure on while I'm in the trade. Obviously, that first once I'm in a trade on me for 15 and 1, this first breaker structure is always the difficult one because I'll just draw this a sec and then I'll draw another line. So that's a new lower high. It's now made a lower low again. Let's say it fills that imbalance. And if it then breaks this, these would be the options. It then might come down, mitigate an imbalance again, and then start trending upwards, start moving up. If after the entry, if we get an entry, the other option is that it comes back, mitigates it. It might come and just mitigate an imbalance in here, and then make a new lower low. So this is why the first new lower low, it might come and take the lot. But obviously I've had previous confirmations. This is just, I mean, some of you might want to add this as you might want to wait for all the previous confirmations and then wait for a breaker structure again as a final one and then getting on this mitigation. So there would possibly be an entry somewhere in that, depending on imbalances. You might like that to be your final confirmation. You might add more. Obviously, you don't have to trade exactly how I trade. I'm just trying to tell you what the 4 main things I'm using, and obviously that's what your back testing is for. Is you go and you see what makes sense to you, and you piece it together as almost as a story for yourselves. Obviously, it's your guys' money, so I would hope that you would do something like that. Yeah, I mean that's about it, guys. Is there any questions on that? Did it make sense at least? Or have I just chatted?
Yeah, all good. No, all good, mate.
Yeah,
Understood it.
good man, good man. Any of you other guys happy? Because I'm probably going to call it in a minute anyway. Did I just ramble for 50 odd minutes? Do you know?
What's when you've done that, what's your quick look on GU? I've got a couple of areas marked up for a buy. Yeah, kind of where you're in balance now.
Yeah, I've got a couple. Yeah, I've got a couple of imbalances, mate. Um, yeah, I mean, I'll probably get up in the morning and have a look in the morning, but I was hoping. Oh no, it was EU, I think. I was looking at the trade the basic supply and demand trade on NZD USD. So this one here, I'll just delete this so it makes sense. This sort of setup was pretty much. I was looking for this setup on all the USD pairs, so EU, GU, NU. I think AU. I can't remember about AU. Yeah, I was looking for a similar. I was pretty much hoping for that on all of them. Um, didn't quite come low enough though. I think I wanted this to be taken, fill this. Then I was waiting for a 1 minute change of character. That might happen this week, to be honest. Come fill this imbalance here. Um, so GU might be pretty much the same, mate. Come take this. I suppose I'd really like it to come and make this a trend line, I guess. Oh, this is so slow tonight. Doing my head in. So if price come and touch that there, pulled away, filled that imbalance, break a structure, I would definitely like to see something like that, mate. I don't. So
Yeah,
I marked these last week, so I don't know. I don't know which one I'm favourite on at the minute, but I know earlier on in the week I was like looking for some. I think it was something out of here, but this Newsweek absolutely obliterated it. So yeah, I didn't get me. If this wick wasn't here, I would have then been looking for 1 minute breaker structure and then to mitigate as an entry in here. But like I say, because this absolutely blew this out of the water, because obviously you've got to build up liquidity, take liquidity, break a structure. I was just waiting for the same thing on the 1 minute, and this just ruined it. So, and obviously I was targeting this trend line, so I'd have been looking to take it up to this sort of imbalance fill or this one here, which it does go, but it just didn't. It just didn't play out how I wanted it to, so it ruined my confirmations, mate. So it was no trade. I've got no issue not taking anything.
yeah,
The only thing that concerns me now is obviously there's this trend line and a sweep, so it's we
yeah. I had
might see
alerts
a
set
breaker
on. I
structure.
think it was EU. It tapped into that sweep, tapped into an imbalance, and then
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I think yeah,
there was actually a little 1 minute change of character. I was just having a look for. Come on, there
yeah.
was actually an entry, so it would be still be in the trade now if it's sort of.
Obviously I've drawn a level line on it, mate. So I'd have looked at it last week. I'm sure. I'll take a quick look now, actually.
I was on a EU.
Oh, EU. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, easy there. Yeah,
yeah,
tapped into that nice.
yeah. I had an alert set and I just missed it, so a
Huh.
bit annoying. I don't really trade them to be fair. I just sort of mark them up. I mark up loads of pairs and just
Yeah. No, I don't know if I'd have traded that, mate. Maybe, maybe not.
yeah. I think if I caught it, I think I probably would have.
Yeah, yeah. That candelier, mate, is what it's tapped into.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's just taken them equal highs, I guess. I don't know if I'd. Yeah, it's filled that, mate. There was a big imbalance above it as well, though. So I don't know if I'd have entertained it. But you say we got a 1 minute change of character as well.
yeah. It was only small.
Would you have done that one there?
No, so further
No, a bit
down.
lower, went it? Yeah, something under here, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wouldn't have, mate. Not me, but this is the thing. Obviously, we all do it differently. We all see it differently. I don't even know what my See, my 1 minute change of character would have been under here because obviously, but I mean, we've got to remember I'm super picky about confirmations as
Yeah,
well. So yeah, so how I view structure here, mate, is that there. So as soon as it breaks under that, this low here, maybe, yeah, maybe, yeah, mitigation maybe in that one. Obviously, this is the
yeah.
order
There was a
block.
bit of a bit
Yeah,
of an
it's
imbalance in there.
yeah, I can see it, mate. I can see it. It's a difficult one because these big pushes always sort of like they always sort of throw you a bit. But I mean, if let's be honest, mate, this order block here looks like it's the one that causes the breaker structure.
Yeah, they're the ones I've been looking for, to be honest. Kind of.
Let's see what imbalances get filled.
Yeah, see that tap we've got at the top there. I've got that marked up as my first imbalance fill. So I was
Yeah,
looking for possibly an entry, come back up for an entry.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's obviously I'll look on the seconds in a minute.
I think I
Um,
had something marked around 06194.
way up here then, mate. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take a look now, mate. It's I mean, if we look at this,
What I was doubting is it whether it's the fact it hasn't caused a lot. That was all.
yeah.
That high
This is
up.
why I said, mate, is so I'll draw a line from this low that I've got marked. So if this is the 1 minute low, obviously it's equal lows as well. So there is an argument that, like I said, this order block in here, or supply zone, whatever you want to call it, yeah, there's an argument that this zone in here is what
That could have
causes.
been your entry in there then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's on the 15 second, so I wouldn't, I don't, I won't normally count it from this candle here. I'd normally, see, I'm always looking for the imbalance, so I'm looking for the live side of the market. But you've got a slow start of like these are imbalance here, and then you've got this candle here that does that I would say is imbalance. Um, maybe on the 10 and the 5, this imbalance, maybe it taps in perfectly. Um, we'll take
yeah.
a
I
look,
think it's
obviously.
pretty good.
So I'm way too high up then, really, looking at that.
Well, I mean, it's one of them things, mate, because it is a difficult structure to read because of that big impulse up. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this is all hindsight. So, if I even think about, yeah, look at that. It might not be too good to view on here, but I would
I
sort of
think
be,
I might. I think I was on the 15 second possibly.
yeah. I mean, in reality, I mean, I'd maybe be saying that because you could argue that the imbalance starts at this bottom of this green candle, but I have started to notice that um, it does seem to come and like to fill these little voids sometime. So obviously, when I went on the
Yeah, I
once,
did wonder if you've got a big imbalance
yeah,
with a little gap, do you include the gap or just the imbalance? So you'd include that gap on top of the imbalance, would you?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You just add
yeah,
it to the imbalance.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think on the, like I say, include that in your entry. 'Cause I believe this is just a void in the feed, but it's not always going to be that. So
Right.
it's 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 one of them that sometimes you're just going to go right. I think it's there, and you're going to miss the trade. Sometimes you're going to go, oh, this is too obvious. I'm going to just cover that. I'm going to include the gap in the entry, and you're going to cover that, and then you're going to get it perfect. It it's obviously nothing's 100% in this industry, so sort of like
Yeah,
sometimes like I mean if you'd have seen this, I would almost say include that because something happens in this. This this can't not be important because you got quite a few full body candles in here.
yeah,
Down, stalls for 5 seconds, big down, big up, and then you get a big down here again. So sometimes it's worth just going looking at the candles previously, but I've got no evidence to back this up other than I've seen it sometimes where you just go, oh, that looks interesting in here as well. I'll include that bit, you know.
yeah.
But that's experience, and you'll get that by back testing and looking at other people's charts. And I mean, I still do it now. If anyone posts anything, I go and mark it up on the charts myself. I go, what did that tap into? And then you start seeing all this sort of stuff going on. Um, yeah, and then I mean, I don't really as well. I would maybe say this is possibly imbalanced, maybe not an ideal push. Other than that, I don't really see any imbalance above anyway. Maybe this, but
Yeah, I think that's where I've got what I've got marked.
yeah, imbalance not on BPR something. Maybe that, but again, it doesn't do anything.
No, that's what
So
gave me my doubts.
yeah, it's one of them. So like sometimes you're going to be. I think I've spoken about obviously splitting your risk on the
Yeah,
last couple of lives. So sometimes you'd go like if you risk 1%, stick half up here at this fill, stick half here if you spotted it, you know. And
yeah.
then at least if both lose, you've only lost what you would risk up here anyway. But obviously if this is the one and you catch it, then you've still caught something, you know, and obviously the risk to rewards can be huge on them. So
This is it.
taking one loss on like this one might lose, and you might catch second one, but then if you do catch it, it's you know you're even on the what's the sort of
That's what I like about this strategy because of the RR. You can afford
yeah
to take smaller risks
yeah
and lots of losses.
yeah. So roughly 5 pips. Piss off. Yeah. It's not the biggest move, but it was late on a Friday, was it? Yeah, 5 o'clock
Yeah.
on a Friday or something at 3 o'clock. One just shy of a 1 to 10.
That's your weekend day, isn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely your beer money for the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, even if you're only risking a tenner, like you've paid that's 50, nearly 50 quid back,
Yeah,
or whatever, do you know. And these sort of setups, obviously, this is just EU. This setup will happen 3 or 4 times a week across 3 or 4 pairs, you know.
yeah, for real.
So you like even just on this one, you can take in effect you could take 8 losses and still be up at the end of the week as long as you catch that one, you know, and hold it to that. So
That's the beauty of it, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's it, boys. Unless there's anything else, guys, I'm going to call it there anyway. And if
Yeah, nice one, mate. Cheers for that.
no worries, boys, obviously I'll be in the group anyway in the Discord if anyone needs anything. I'm always about. So just if there's out you want to ask, just fire away, guys, and I will
Sound nice
answer
one,
whatever I
mate.
can. Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Cheers,
mate.
mate.
Cheers, bye, bye, bye.